Get ready, Texas. The 2019 Music for the Mind Festival is almost here. emceed by Michael Moulton from Into the Rock.
Gather round, clowns.
Performances by Maylee Thomas
I
Band.
was searching for the perfect love of my life. Met on Thursday with
Special edition.
Put your pinky rings up to the moon.
And Rachel Stacey.
Keep tossing you out and you keep coming back. Boomerang.
This is a free event for all ages and will be held at the Herd Museum in McKinney, Texas on Saturday, November 2nd from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Don't forget to stop by our sponsor food trucks to refuel. For more information, go to engagecolin.com.
Gather round, gather round, gather round, clowns. Not y'all.
Oh.
Clowns. Michael Moulton, Into the Rock, coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, baby. D-Town. Not Tioga, Texas. Dallas, Texas. D-Town, the 214, where we talk about, are y'all ready, ladies?
Yeah, we're ready.
Are you ready to hear what we talk about on this show? We talk about drug addiction. We talk about alcoholism. Yes, liquid dope. We talk about hurts. We talk about bad habits. We talk about hang-ups. We talk about codependency. We talk about suicide prevention. We talk about all sorts of addiction, things that have made my life completely unmanageable that I have finally admitted that I'm powerless over. We talk about this on this show, but most importantly, we bring solutions on this show to my life problems. This show's really gotten diversified lately because we very rarely talk about alcohol and drugs. We talk about, because alcohol and drugs is yet a symptom of my disease, we talk about solutions. And this show is brought to you by, y'all ready? Let me put my badge on. Ready? Healing Springs Ranch. Healing Springs Ranch out of Tioga, Texas. And we got the bosses here. Shh. We got the boss ladies in the house. We got Rachel Graham. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So excited you're here. And Melissa Caldwell Ingle. Now, we went through a real big, I went through 9 shows, and I had lady guests on the show, and they all had 3 names. And it was all the Real Housewives of Dallas. They all had the three names, but we'll put you in that category. Is that okay?
I don't know.
Well, welcome to the show, and we're so glad to have you. Real quick, let's do some quick. We want to thank Healing Springs Ranch. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
what y'all are doing for this show, y'all don't know this. Y'all have kept this show alive. I mean, this show, I didn't know what that was going to happen, and then all of a sudden, with Steve Paul, and Nika Cooper, and John Edmondson, and I met with them, and I said, literally, I need help, guys. I need help because I don't know what's going to happen, and got together with the two of you, and I can't thank you enough. You know, to continue to spread the message of what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to a long relationship and going and saving lives. So DFW Coin and Jewelry. I didn't steal this jewelry. Okay, what you see here is DFW Coin and Jewelry, and thank you so much, Kristen Oyster. Everything that you do for the recovery community. This is funny. So John came yesterday. I spoke at Highland Park Middle School yesterday.
Oh, wow.
To the seventh graders and the eighth graders, over 1,000 kids.
Oh, wow.
And we talked about, I shared my story. It was amazing that they would come up and talk to me afterwards. And you know what they wanted to talk about the most?
What?
Was this watch. That's what blew me away,
It's got a
right?
little bling to it.
It did.
I mean,
well, it was iced out. I was
know,
iced out.
yeah.
That's what they said. So it was really neat. They wanted to talk about the watch. So Kristen Oyster, DFW Coin and Jewelry, Gangway Advertising, Cynthia and Randy Smoot. I was with them all day today. Thank you so much for everything that y'all do. We got some really cool stuff that we're talking about and working on, and so they're a huge part of this show. And Danny Campbell, the official paparazzo of M2 The Rock, and all the great photographs he's taken here in the studio. He was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it. He said hello, but he will be at the Rendezvous on Friday.
Oh, wonderful.
So we'll get some good pictures together, and we want to thank the producer of the show, Rachel Stacy. What a producer. We got Rachel Stacy producing the show, so you don't want to miss out that at the end of the show tonight, Rachel Stacy is going to perform for both of y'all the song Godspeed that she performed at Healing Springs Ranch. So real quick, November 2nd, tomorrow night, we've got Suzanne Hemke and Jana Janison going to be here on the show talking about the Music for the Mind festival. I want y'all to come to that. That's November 2nd for Engage Collin County for mental health awareness.
Oh, wow.
And so we're going to have that's going to be a concert. They're going to have Maylee Thomas Band. They're going to have the special edition band and this like wannabe artist, Rachel Stacy, who's going to be there too. I'm just kidding. National recording artist Rachel Stacy will be also there with her full band. So that's going to be a great show. So that's all the announcements and all the paperwork out of the way. Welcome to the show. And let's start with you, Rachel.
Thank
you and I are just now getting to know each other.
Yeah. Yes. And they actually gave you a badge. I see
So
this.
check.
It's like
so
legit.
look, I do. I got my badge, and it has my name on it. It's not a mugshot. It's my first picture that's not a mugshot. So it's.
And you have the keys to get out, too.
Yeah.
I got the keys to get out. I got like this sensor, and it's actually it says Michael M2 The Rock, a recovery advocate healing. I'm really proud of this.
Well, we're proud of you. Thank you for all you're doing.
Thanks.
You and Rachel both. You have had a tremendous impact on our clients and our staff. So I want to thank you for the time that you've given to sharing your stories and coming up and just being with our folks.
Well, thank you. It's an honor. And like I said, in order to keep what I have, I got to give it away, right? That's what I've been taught by y'all. But this is a great story. So Healing Springs Ranch, up north of Dallas, 1 hour north of Dallas. So if you fly in from out of town and come seek treatment at Healing Springs Ranch, you fly into a major airport, go right up the tollway. It's a very easy, it's just a luxury resort living atmosphere, gated community, very safe. We'll run the commercial here in a second of Healing Springs Ranch. But how'd this happen? I mean, how did all this happen, and why invest? Because you're a successful businesswoman, and why did you get in this business? I mean, what drove you to this?
A personal family crisis
Okay.
with a family member. I went through a crisis with a loved one who was struggling with compulsive behaviors and some addictive patterns. And so I didn't really know anything about this industry. I came out of the managed care side of healthcare, so it's like the dark side. That's what we talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
The dark side. And I learned a lot about this industry quickly out of necessity and desperation.
Okay.
And so he ended up in treatment, 3 different facilities, and a number of things happened along the way. And I saw some very egregious things happening that ultimately created some permanent scars on my family. And so I was upset. And, as God works in special ways, you sit there and you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do with this. And all of a sudden, the people that you need to meet start coming in your path. This one came into my path, and there was a number of other folks, and we had this kind of common vision. We wanted to do something to change this industry and do something unique and different that hadn't been done. So I was coming at it from a very personal place.
Okay.
In that I was disappointed in what had happened, and I wanted to be a force for change. And so that's how our relationship started, and we ended up putting together a business plan with some other folks, and we had some other folks help raise capital for us, and here we are.
And so tell us, so you have introduced Melissa, and Melissa Caldwell. What is your role with the Healing Springs Ranch?
I'm the clinical director.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Well, it means I oversee and help develop any of the clinical areas, whether it's the programming, the curriculum, just clinical development and training and in services. And I also do a lot of speaking, public speaking. I'm involved in doing groups in the program, in the milieu. So it was real important to me to not just be a clinical director. Most clinical directors are slightly removed from the, from the milieu itself, but it was real important for me to be an active part of the milieu and to be in there leading groups and working with the clients one-on-one.
What's milieu? When you say milieu?
The therapeutic community.
Gotcha. So, and you're both, and so being in recovery, I'm a recovering, obviously, drug addict, alcoholic, and y'all are not, you don't struggle with addiction for chemical dependency.
No, but I think every human being struggles with some sort of compulsive behavior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I speak around the globe trying to normalize that, to teach people that say, I don't have any addictions. No, but you have some compulsive behaviors that if they go too far, they could become a problem.
Right.
And so I speak to business leaders around the globe, asking them to kind of look at their lives and figure out what their compulsive behaviors are and how those could manifest into something that could be destructive one day, to just really normalize and to teach people and remove the stigma around it.
And so we talk about that. And so real quick, I'm going to back up just a little bit. For our listeners and for our followers, our viewers that are watching right now, they have a loved one and they want to seek treatment. Let's walk us through just the basic, checklist of seeking treatment at treatment center. Does my loved one need to go to treatment? I mean, how does this work? Do y'all offer a detox or how does Healing Springs operate?
Well, we do not have detox on our property, but we have close relationships with a lot of different detox facilities that we work with, and so we really tag team and coordinate the care. So it's really still door to door, so to speak. They go to detox, and then we work with them while they're in the detox program, and then we help with them to be the transporting and transition.
The transition,
into our program. So we have a lot of facilities that we really trust and work well with. So the detox piece we actually do not have at Healing Springs Ranch, but we were able to work very easily with people in programs that do.
So what's the curriculum at Healing Springs Ranch? When the person checks in day one, what is my loved one going to be doing for 60, 90, 120 days? How does that work?
There's a lot that they'll be doing.
Yeah.
I kind of joke about it. I talk about our facility being like, I hate the name rehab center. I worked for private psychiatric hospitals for 25 years. And I don't, just the name itself, psychiatric hospitals, rehab center.
Yeah. MMHR.
Yeah. So it's really people that are coming to us, and what we've learned in other industry leaders that have worked with these populations over the years, what we all see over and over and over is it's people that are hurting and there's a lot of pain, and they're doing the best they can to try to numb and medicate that pain so they can continue to function. And at one point in time it worked, but over time it stops working because we kind of all have a threshold for what we can suppress or hold in or just try not to think about. And so over time, these addictive patterns that in the beginning worked, they stop working.
Yeah.
And so you'll see people struggle with a lot of different addictions. So whether it's chemical addiction, whether it's a process addiction, which can be like shopping. Sorry, Rachel. Shopping or
Are you
It's a shoe problem.
Are you still in denial?
Oh, no, I'm fully out there now sharing I have a shoe problem. It's out there for the world to see.
I'm okay with her not working through that because we wear the same size shoes. So it's really okay.
So now it's a family
guess
disease.
who raids my
now
closet?
it's a family disease
Guess
and denial.
Who raids? Yeah, my closet.
Yes.
That's
yes.
right. But all the addictions, whether it's gaming, gambling, shopping, sex, pornography, you're seeing all these process addictions. And so some people are real excited and say, well, I don't drink, but they have a horrible gambling problem,
Right.
or a horrible pornography problem.
Right.
So what we look at is we look at all of these as symptoms, and they're all actually ways to try to distract and manage emotional pain that person has not dealt with.
Yeah.
So when they come into the program, what we do differently is we don't just focus on the behavior of the addiction. It's important to stop the behavior. I mean, you can't get a lot of work done if you're high or if you're drunk, so you have to stop the behavior. But if you don't go deeper to look at what purpose did that behavior serve for that individual, if you don't look at what is underlying that addictive pattern, people will stop drinking, but they'll start smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, or they'll start gambling. So we look at all the underlying mental health issues. We look at all the addictive patterns. So it's a very comprehensive, integrated treatment. It's not just we treat this one little section over here, this one behavior. We help people look at where are they at emotionally, where are the problems, where is the suppressed pain, how can they learn healthier ways of managing their feelings instead of running into all these distractions. So it's really about healing past traumas, looking at the past pain that you've suppressed, helping people find healthier ways of managing the feelings. So you actually have to have a milieu or a curriculum that activates that very emotion that they want to drink away. And so some people will say, well, I just want to leave. And I'll say, well, why? Well, because it's not working. The program's not working in here. Why is it not working? Well, because I want to drink more now than I ever have. I'm like, well, yeah, we're dealing with all this pain.
Right.
You don't serve alcohol in the cafeteria.
Right.
So this stuff's coming up for you, and it's going to feel intense.
And that's why you're here.
Exactly.
You
That
know?
means it is working.
That's right.
Evidence that the program is working. And we're here to help you work through that and learn ways to manage that. So when you leave, you don't just run right back to the bottle or pills or games or gambling or whatever it may be.
Right.
So we have a program that has a very integrated, we have art therapy, we have equine therapy, we have music therapy, anger management, psychodrama. We have a lot of what's called experiential groups that actually help people get those feelings up and going, because just sitting and talking about it it's important, but it's very different when those feelings are up and running. And to practice learning how to live in that space with that emotion and not running from it, that takes practice. We have to build our emotional muscles up.
And I have, and Rachel, I want to let you know, I have participated in every one of these groups now. You know, I've gone up there because when I signed on with this, I want to make sure that I'm endorsing something that I really, truly believe in.
Right. Absolutely.
Because we're dealing with people's lives here. And I do. And I've sat in every one of the groups. And for everyone watching this, I've sat in your groups. You're the real deal. As a matter of fact, I really think that you might be one of us, because you're one of the normies. We call them normies, that when they start talking, I'm like going, man, she gets me. She really does get me. And it's really neat because you make me feel comfortable, because I'm starting to realize that the more and more recovery that I get, and you touched on it just a second ago, and I shared this, it's become a quote that people are saying, is that I truly believe that I'm addicted to visible things to fix my invisible problems. Right? So, I mean, if it's the cross addiction, you know, and then the cross addiction and relapse behaviors. Okay, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing drugs, but I'm eating like crazy, or I'm overworking, or I'm over-exercising, or I'm buying shoes, you know, or whatever.
That doesn't count.
But, right. But so what's the real problem?
Right.
Why am I doing this? You know, why am I acting on that behavior? And you touch on that, and that's huge in recovery, because long-term recovery is recognizing character defects or the old behaviors that I had, because it will definitely lead back to the drugs and alcohol. I was a chronic relapser. I mean, you know, I never thought that I'd be sitting here with my boss, okay, someone that I work for, saying, I've got 27 mugshots, I'm a 4-time felon, all that stuff. You're hired. You know what I mean? But it's so neat, because now we get to, God takes this and turns it into a ministry, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Rachel, at Healing Springs Ranch, what do you do when you travel around and you speak? And you have your own group. I haven't participated. I can't wait to sit in your group.
Yes, I teach. It's called Getting Lit. Can you imagine that
love
one?
that.
You like that one? It's leadership and training. And so when we started putting together the curriculum, one of the things that we talked about is finding meaning and purpose with one's life. And if you're absent that, you know, it creates some struggle, and it can create the right environment for someone to relapse if they don't have a real strong sense of self and what they should be doing. So we started encompassing tools that are used in corporate America, in leadership development, management, team development, those types of things, into a group class. And so we actually do some assessments on them, and we look at skill sets, we look at personality type, communication styles, all of those types of things. And we're giving them information about themselves that maybe they didn't even realize.
Wow.
And then many of them take that and figure out what life changes do I need to make? Is it vocational? And if it's vocational, well, then let's start looking at what your strengths are. Because when we're swimming upstream against the very strengths that God-given talents that we've been given, we're going to be frustrated.
Right.
If I try to be a 25-year-old, 6-foot-tall supermodel, I'm going to be frustrated.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right.
But if I try to use my gifts of being able to connect with people and being able to help people, those types of things, I'm going to be very happy and rewarded for it. So that's a big part of my mission within the organization. And we also, maybe we didn't even touch too on the food and what we feed our clients.
We got to touch on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important that we're treating the whole person. We're really meeting people where they are. And every single one of our clients has their own special plan. Not any of them are the same. They do different things. They do go to groups together, but they're in different phases, different places of their life. So we're trying to meet them where they are and then help them not only get sober and figure out why they're medicating these emotional issues, but help them figure out what am I supposed to do with my life and what's the beauty in going to rehab. There might be a reason and something amazing and beautiful that can come out. That's what happened to me in my life crisis. I could not imagine at the time. I went into a very victim place. Woe is me, look what's happening. Yeah. And I had a spiritual God moment. And it was a moment where I was in my house and I fell to my knees and I was crying and I was screaming. I didn't know what to do. And I felt what felt like, when you pick up a puppy like that, the hand of God. And it pulled me up. And I felt the words, "You're going to be okay. I'm trying to show you something."
Come on.
And I said, "Well, I'm listening." And then everything started happening. I met her, I met some other folks, and we all had this common vision and desire to do some different things. So that's how that all happened. And so I share that story on stage with business leaders around the globe. I traveled last year almost 200,000 air miles.
Wow.
Speaking and trying to remove the stigma around mental health. And what is so beautiful is when you watch someone who has previously felt like they couldn't share or they lived in shame of something that's going on because of their big life and their big company they run and their big persona actually come to terms with something, and you watch that happen in a setting where we're just very vulnerable, whether it's 60 people or 1,000 people, we go to very vulnerable places. It is transformative. And so that's kind of the gas that fuels my car in trying to propel this mission further and create that awareness on a global level. Because it's not just in the U.S.
No.
It's everywhere. And there's so many countries that are behind our mental health system, and there's so much stigma. They said you only go to a therapist if you're kind of crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my, why wouldn't you go to a therapist?
Right.
You go to an executive coach, why wouldn't you go to a therapist? So I'm trying to create an environment by which people can say, you know what, I've got some broken parts and that's okay. I'm human.
Right.
What do I do with that?
Right.
What needs to be addressed and what doesn't need to be addressed? And how do I turn that into something amazing?
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Rachel Graham, Healing Springs Ranch. Melissa Caldwell Engel, Healing Springs Ranch. Partners, co-founders, founders, boss ladies. Hashtag boss ladies in the comments. Right now in the comments, everybody who's watching, I need everyone to hashtag HSR, and show the love of what Healing Springs Ranch. Let's check out Healing Springs Ranch right now, and we'll be right back to talk about some more with Rachel and Melissa. And I am sitting here. I got to push this button. Ready? Enjoy.
Healing Springs Ranch is designed for people that really want to come and do the work, and not just work on their addictive behaviors, but going deeper and finding the underlying issues and sharing them, and oftentimes for the first time sharing them out loud, kind of dumping out everything that's holding you back. And in the process, what we try to do is nurture and heal that particular wound while they're here. We really wanted this to be a transformative experience for people, not just a drying out place or a place where they go and check off a box. We truly wanted this to be an opportunity for everyone to take a pause in their life and figure out what they need to do to go live their purpose. So we're very passionate about folks finding purpose and meaning to why they exist, and finding ways to utilize that purpose and meaning for them to go on and actually have a more successful and happier life.
Welcome back. Michael Moulton, M2 The Rock, coming to you live from, we're in Rachel's Cafe. Rachel Stacy's Cafe. Why do I have to report to all these women? I got Rachel Graham, Rachel Stacy, I got Melissa, I got Kim Harmon Gatlin, Cynthia Smoot. I need Randy, John, come save me. Randy and John. So Healing Springs Ranch, that was a great commercial right there with the drone and Healing Springs Ranch. And we got to talk. the food there, Chef Corey.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
My
Chef
man,
Corey's
100
amazing.
grand. Oh, I
Yeah.
love going there, and he's so. What's so great about him? He's such a great, nice guy. You just, I mean, he's just
Very
so
down to
loving and just such a great part of the community. And tell us about the food there. You're so well known for the food.
Well, he gets our overall mission with this too, because this is all part of it. So he is very interested and has spent a lot of time training. One of our other owners is in functional medicine. He spent a lot of time with her, and so he prepares food that he uses a lot of turmeric, ginger, garlic, a lot of things that naturally heal the gut, heal the digestive tract, because the bodies, when folks come in, their bodies have been through so much.
Right.
And to be able to help heal it from the inside out also with what they eat, and what makes me, it was so funny that he can do. I remember when we were sitting there eating with a young lady, and she said, I don't usually like salads, and we're eating our salad together, and she said, I'll eat this, but I will not eat Brussels sprouts or kale. She goes, oh my gosh, I just can't eat those. And I didn't say anything, and she kept eating her salad. And we finished the whole salad, and it was excellent.
Yeah.
And I said, so you don't like Brussels sprouts or kale? And she said, no, they're horrible. They're bitter. They're nasty. I won't eat them. They're supposed to be healthy for you. And I said, well, there were Brussels sprouts and kale in that salad. She goes, you're kidding. So he does a wonderful job of sneaking in the good stuff for people who don't think they like it. And we see such drastic results in people's skin.
Yes.
The labs come back. They go to their doctors, and the doctor's like, what have y'all been doing over there? Your labs are amazing. Your numbers are great. So we really believe it's important what you eat as well to be your medicine.
Rachel, let's talk about the facility. I mean, the attention to detail. You can tell that these, this is going to be so politically incorrect. I don't care. You can tell that two women were in charge of the decor there, every single detail of, hey, we're going to make you feel like home, down to the 400-foot sectional sofa in the great room. Why don't you
That's her doing.
Yeah. So why don't you lay out the facility real quick for our viewers?
Yeah, no, we had, there were several of us that worked on it,
Right.
the two of us and a few others. But you had a bunch of closet decorators competing for space.
Wow, it's
to
good.
decorate.
Yeah.
So we kind of came up with zones.
Okay.
And everybody had their zone.
Okay.
So I had the bunkhouse, she had the group room, and then we had
library.
in the library. Yes. And then of course she wanted all the paintings down in the lodge, which, you know, if you know Melissa, she's a very colorful person.
Yes, she is.
And,
And y'all got to check out the
lots
boots.
of
We'll
cool
take
art.
pictures of her boots and post it.
Yeah, lots of cool art. So we wanted it to be a place that was therapeutic in and of itself, a place that we would go to do this work that's peaceful and calm and has an aesthetic quality that's healing in and of itself.
Right.
Well, I've worked at places where it's very institutionalized. It's very gray. You know, it doesn't feel comfortable or warm at all.
Right.
And so I am an art therapist, yes, Rachel. So I do like color, and we do want to bring color in because color brings energy too.
That is true. And so we got the equine. Let's talk about that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. We have a wonderful equine therapist, Kelly Schreiber.
Oh,
She's been
so
doing this for
good.
years.
Yes.
Hats off to Kelly. She's phenomenal. And what's so cool about her, so I love the experientials and the art therapy, and I love horses. She actually combines, she'll have music therapy, equine therapy, and art therapy. She combines them together. It's very powerful. I mean, clients will have experiences that they can't even put into words, but they can feel a release inside of them that they've never experienced before. So we've just got some phenomenal therapists that we work with.
So people talk about treatment centers and going to treatment centers or rehabs, whatever the street name is, whatever it is, okay? And there are different ways to get clean and sober, and there's different ways for long-term recovery. Believe me, I've tried them all, and I always took the easier, softer way. But I personally work a 12-step recovery program. Y'all offer that,
Yes.
but there's so many things that y'all offer. It's not I want everybody to know that you're not walking into 12-step. I mean, there's all sort. How would you present that as far as what kind of recovery program do you offer?
Well,
Is that a fair question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is. It
It's
comes
a
up,
diverse one.
It comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It's important. And 12-step is phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go anywhere in the world, and if you need a meeting, you've got it. I mean,
Right.
that's a phenomenal opportunity to have. So we absolutely embrace the 12 steps. Some people that have had some issues with 12 steps have been hurt when they've gone through the process, and they come in, they're more reserved and don't want to be involved.
What do you
in
mean
it.
by that? Talk to me about that.
Different people talk about different things, just different experiences they may have had in the 12-step community. Some people get kind of caught up on the God issue and or a higher power, and they can't embrace that. So we really try to embrace people with where they're at when they come in. So we explain to them, you've got to have some recovery support. All of us, really, everybody in the world could benefit from a strong support system, right?
Right.
So we all need recovery support. So we offer AA, we offer Smart Recovery, we offer Celebrate Recovery. We have different recovery support groups for people that are there. But what's interesting that I've noticed is as people start to heal their shame and their pain, the folks that have an issue with a higher power, when you hate yourself so much, it's hard to think about a loving Father or a
Yes.
loving God or
Yeah.
any kind of connection with the higher power. There's a lot of anger there. And when you start to heal that shame and that self-hate, people's minds and their hearts just naturally start to open up. And then they start asking questions about a higher power. And then they start saying, well, I'd like to sit in the AA group. We don't have to ask permission. We want you to go all the time.
Right.
So people, as they heal, their comfort level and their desire to connect with something greater than themselves grows with that. And then you start seeing them want more and more of that connection through the different recovery supports.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then we got the now jumping around as far as what about mental health, dual diagnosis? How do we handle that at Healing Springs Ranch? You know, someone that's coming in with a dual diagnosis that's diagnosed on site. You know, there's some diagnoses that'll happen at Healing Springs. Once we start getting detoxing and we start getting to know ourselves, I mean, how is Healing Springs prepared to help, you know, with depression, bipolar disorder, or stuff like that? How does that work?
Well, so I've had 25 years in private psychiatric hospitals. I worked at the trauma program. So my experience has been treating every psychiatric diagnosis, every addictive processes. Dual diagnosis would have been great. I'm used to working with people who have 6, 7, 8 different diagnoses when they walk in.
Oh, okay,
so
I got
we're
you.
used to very messy, complicated, chronic, lots of addictions, lots of mental health folks. So that's who we've worked with for 25 years. So when you're dealing with chronic mental health issues, and I've never met someone that has a chronic issue with substance use or addictions, that there's not some underlying emotional struggles, whether it's depression, anxiety, poor self-esteem, post-traumatic stress disorder, dissociation, personality disorders. I've never met a person that has chronic addictive issues.
And what does that mean, chronic?
Just, it's many, many years
Right,
in and out.
right.
Stepping in.
Repetitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so there's always going to be underlying emotional issues and underlying psychiatric issues. And so that's part of our curriculum and our milieu. We address that. And we have an integrated model so that people that can come in can address their underlying depression, their underlying anxiety, right alongside of all their addictive patterns as well, because they're hand in glove. They really fit together. And a lot of people use to try to manage the mental health symptoms. So and if you don't, like we said earlier, you can go from drinking to pornography or smoking 2 packs of cigarettes or whatever other addictive cycles. You can have what's called addiction substitution. But also, when you stop drinking, people might notice their anxiety goes up or their depression goes up. So the mental health issues will pop up too. So instead of like playing like whack-a-mole where you're just trying to hit each thing as it comes up, we address it all, because part of being an integrated, healthy human being is looking at all of our behaviors and all of our emotional pain that drive these symptoms. So it's all integrated into the treatment. That's where I was excited. That's my passion, because when I was asked if I wanted to be a part of this, I'm like, oh my gosh, finally, if we can have a program that addresses the addictions and the mental health and the trauma that is there for so many people. If we can have one place that does that instead of going to this place for psychiatric mental health and this place that comes over, you go over here if you have an addiction. If you're working on an addiction and you develop a psychiatric issue, we need to send you to a different place. Instead of having all of this, have it all under one roof, because the treatment is very similar. It's very similar. I wish we could just call it, instead of calling it a rehab center, I wish we could just call it a wellness program. Because
Why don't we?
everybody out there, well, we're getting there.
Yeah, why don't we?
That's the plan.
Yeah. So we'll start right now, wellness program, you know, just saving lives, you know,
Yes.
saving lives. And let's talk about, and Rachel, why don't you touch on security, privacy, you know, anonymity, stuff like that. How does that fall into, because I have so much respect when I go out there, the security and it's just great. I mean, everybody's so safe out there. Walk us through that. There's been some thought of detail on that.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time creating an environment wherein folks can be there. They feel safe enough, not just physically, but
Mm-hmm.
emotionally too. So we're looking at the safety factor on both sides. So you talked about the aesthetics of the place,
Right.
and we have a fabulous clinical program, fabulous staff. I mean, from the business office
we're gonna
all the
get to
way
the staff here in a second.
to,
Yeah, you do.
Everybody. And one of the things that I'll tell you, if you sit down with our clients, and this happens time and time again, many of them have been chronic relapsers. They've been in and out of several different facilities, and they come to us and they say, I want to tell you something. There's no other place like this on the planet. And they said, I've never felt safer, more secure, more loved, and more capable of being able to address these things while being respected.
Okay, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it there. Speaking for the addict, okay, and the people in recovery, because I remember that feeling of trying to get clean and sober, okay, not knowing what was going on. And you nailed it. And I want everybody to hear this. You feel safe there. You feel so safe there. And it's you've created such an intimate, safe feel there. And when I feel safe, I can be transparent. Right, and that's huge on what you've created there. And I want everybody to understand that. So when you send your loved one to Healing Springs Ranch, they feel safe, and that's the first key. Where they take risk and say, "Listen, I've got a real problem with drugs and alcohol, and I need some help, and I don't care how long I stay here.
Right.
I'll leave when I'm told to leave." That's complete surrender.
Right.
As opposed to going, okay, I'm going to be here for 45 days, and I'm counting the days down to when I leave. This isn't a spin cycle where we get fixed.
Right.
This is where we change.
Yeah.
And we only got to change one thing, and that's everything, right? And that's what I had to do. I had to change everything. Yeah. So let's talk about the staff.
Yeah.
I mean,
we have a tremendous staff.
Yeah, walk me through the staff, the different departments, and
Yeah.
let's heavily emphasize Kelly 7.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And let's not
She's
talk a whole
awesome.
lot about John
Rock
Edmondson. We love John Edmondson. He's actually here in studio, been on the show a couple of times, but your staff is incredible. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think we have selected people that are very aligned with what we're trying to do. I mean, you're one of them.
I love
that
it.
support what we're doing, support our mission. We didn't want to be just another pop-up rehab facility.
Yeah.
We didn't enter into this to go down that path. In fact, this has been a very selfless act on us and our families that have supported us. There's been a lot of long hours, all of our staff. I'll say it's not just us, but when we initially brought it up, it was crazy. Then we start hiring people. They start giving. I mean, no one works 40 hours at our facility, and everyone feels a certain level of ownership and compassion for our staff, and we're all in this together. And I think that if you talk to our staff, and they tell you that they've never had an opportunity to work anywhere else where they can influence or save a life every single day. And it doesn't matter if you're emptying the trash cans, or you're processing the paperwork, or you're doing the clinical work, or you're cooking for them, whatever it might be. And that's important, that I want the staff to realize you have a profound effect. And we talk about Corey, Chef Corey. One of the things about him, the clients love him because he's just cool. And he's just calming when he comes out, and
Makes
he rolls.
me feel safe.
He rolls, and we had another kid that came to us and said, if it's not on the 99-cent meal of the fast food places, I don't eat it. We're like, well, okay, it's going to be a long ride for you.
Yeah.
And he sat there and he wouldn't eat and he wouldn't eat. And then finally, Chef Corey started trying to do some stuff to really engage his palate. And eventually this kid started eating everything, and he'd come running up to you with food in his mouth, open his mouth, going, look at the new thing I tried today.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, I mean, it's that kind of way that everyone feels that ownership in being able to connect to our clients. We know their stories. And then we haven't even touched on the fact that we have a robust family program. We get to know their whole family unit.
That's right. So that is a huge part of the deal. That is a huge part of the deal. And that, and I mean, we can finish the show out with this, but I mean, it is so, the family wants to drop me off, fix them,
Right.
and give them back to us.
Right.
Okay. Well, what are you doing? Are you working a program? And I personally, it's part of my story, is I'll never forget, I went to a treatment center in 2002 out in California, very well-known treatment center. To this day, I still use tools that I learned at it. Okay. And when I went there, but when I came home, I was there, it was a 30-day program. I was there for 6 months. And when I came home, I walked right into a house full of resentment. Unresolved resentment, because the person that I was living with at the time I was married to, all they remember was the last night that I was there, the dark, crazy night, where they couldn't find me. And they held on to that for 6 months. So while I was working a program, working towards this, they were doing this. And then I eventually went back out because as a recovering, I said, this doesn't work. I ain't doing it. You know, the codependency, it's so let's talk about that. What does Healing Springs do for the family? Once they drop me off, here you go, fix them. And they go, okay, no, we're going to work on everybody.
It's important that the whole family start getting engaged from the beginning.
Yes.
And it's important that we spend time. We spend some one-on-one time with the family members. Some of the times we do the assessments on them and show them some things about themselves that they didn't understand in the way that they communicate, some of the dysfunctional family dynamics. I know for me, when my loved one went to treatment, he was in and out 3 different places, and the family was left behind. And I give the analogy of, if you think of a play on a stage. Okay, so the person struggling is usually the main character. But there's a whole lot of other cast members on that stage that make that story go. And the most painful thing for me when I was supporting my loved one is putting the mirror in front of my own face.
Wow.
And looking at myself. And then trying to figure out, how do I help my kids?
Wow.
You know, they need to be brought along in this too. So whether they're young kids, you know, you saw that Sesame Street's now introduced a new Muppet. The whole family needs to come along, and they need safety. I mean, I think that's the one thing. We've worked with some families, and the families have never felt safe dealing with these things. And we actually took a family that was just at each other's throat, and we sat down and we taught them a lot about each other, and so they could be vulnerable and open with each other. And they were giggling by the time we were leaving, because they were just so pleased that they finally figured out how to communicate with one another, because they just didn't understand each other.
Doesn't it feel good to see all that happen?
Yeah, it's profound.
It's always something so simple too that really triggers it off.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, wait a minute, we lost all this. And it's just something so simple, just getting honest.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Right. Yeah.
You know, acceptance.
We have on the family intensive weekends that we have, we'll have families that will come in, and it's really just an education about our model. And I have so many parents afterwards, they'll come up to me and they'll say, I know you were talking about our loved one that we have here, but a lot of things you said it's me. I do these things too, and what do we do? And I have so many parents that will say to me, what do I tell my son? I've been telling him all these years to suck it up. I've been telling him to be a man. And I never realized he's so sensitive, and I'm asking him to do something that goes against his own nature. And I think I've created a lot of his pain. I think I've taught him bad habits. And I'll say, Dad, the best thing in the world you can do for your son is to say, oh my goodness, I didn't know what I didn't know. But I learned here when I came through this program and I went through the family intensive weekend, I learned that a lot of things I told you and I've told myself aren't healthy. And there's not just one person here having to learn how to deal with life better. There's 2 of us. You and I've got to do this together. We've got to figure this out together, because I've got to make some changes myself. There's nothing more profound for your son than for you to lead him into to being able to own his own stuff, and there's no shame, and that he's not the only one that has to work on this.
Yeah, the family intense. I can't wait to just sit in on that. I really want to see
they're
that
powerful.
because we talk about that a lot in this show. You know, a lot of people in recovery or addiction, they'll take that step. They'll take that risk and say, listen, I'm going to go get clean and sober. And the loved one says, okay, good, because it's a family disease. It is a family disease, and it's very deadly. So when we come back, y'all don't leave, because we got Rachel Stacy going to perform for you Godspeed.
Very
Godspeed, her
nice.
song
So
Godspeed.
excited.
She's going to perform it live here on M2 The Rock. I'm not going to perform, okay? So you don't want... I tell everybody the state of Texas doesn't want me drinking, and they don't want me singing. So that is not going to happen. So we're going to, in case you missed it, we're going to run this again on Healing Springs Ranch. Michael Moulton, M2 The Rock. We'll be right back.
Healing Springs Ranch is designed for people that really want to come and do the work, and not just work on their addictive behaviors, but going deeper and finding the underlying issues and sharing them, and oftentimes for the first time sharing them out loud, kind of dumping out everything that's holding you back. And in the process, what we try to do is nurture and heal that particular wound while they're here. We really wanted this to be a transformative experience for people, not just a drying out place or a place where they go and check off a box. We truly wanted this to be an opportunity for everyone to take a pause in their life and figure out what they need to do to go live their purpose. So we're very passionate about folks finding purpose and meaning to why they exist, and finding ways to utilize that purpose and meaning for them to go on and actually have a more successful and happier life.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, that wasn't a drone. That was me flying. I was on a string, and I had a camera, and I was filming Healing Springs Ranch. Healing Springs Ranch, is it Inpatient Treatment Center? Is that the way you want me to say it? Healing Springs Ranch residential treatment in Tioga, Texas, just 1 hour north of Dallas Fort Worth. You got to check it out. It's incredible. HealingSpringsRanch.com. HealingSpringsRanch.com, and then Facebook. We'll have all the links in the comments when we get done and have everything out there. And we're actually live on Healing Springs Ranch page right now. So we actually shared it to the Healing Springs Ranch page. Thank you again. I am so excited to be a part of this family.
Yeah.
It just
We're glad
feels
to have
good.
you.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels right. And you know what was really cool is when we started this, what made me feel even more safe about being a part of this family is the time y'all took to make the decision. I love that. Say, hey, why don't you come out and just hang out and sit in a group for, let's kind of walk through this and see how we dance together. And I love that. Instead of go, yeah, just sign them up. You know, because this is the real deal. It's very serious. We talked about the staff there, and during our commercial break, we were talking about the alumni. And I love this. Why don't you share what you were talking about?
So yeah, we have the most profound group of alums out there, and it's an amazing experience for me when I get to work with them. And I know I won't speak for you, but when I get to work with them on maybe a vocational change or something like that they need to do, and then they go out and they nail it. I mean, and you watch these people go on and do amazing, great things. It is one of the most beautiful things. And I put out there the other day in the universe, on my social media universe, that I envision a day where 40% of our staff are alums of our program.
That's so realistic.
You know, I think so too. And it's already started.
Yeah.
And I hope it grows. They bring something amazing to the whole community, and that they can relate. You know, we talk about the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And they can relate. They said, I stayed in that room right there. And yes, I didn't like, this rule or that rule, but let me tell you why it's there and why we do this. And so for me, it's thrilling to see some of these people come back. Plus, even the alums that aren't going to work with us, they come back and it's nice. They just stop in, give you a hug, and then they go on about their day.
Yeah, because real things happen at Healing Springs Ranch, and a lot of inpatient treatment. There's a lot of them, residential treatment.
Yes.
I like that. Feels good. Yeah. But and another thing is, another phenomenon that happens is when we're detoxing, the different phases of recovery. So when the dopamine levels are really cranking, the brain's rebuilding, we feel great.
Yes.
Like, this sobriety is great.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they're like going, I'm going to be a counselor. Get me out of here so I can be a counselor. And I can already see Melissa and John going, okay, let's get off the gas. Those are great goals, but let's right now, we've been sober for 8 hours. And let's get off the gas here for a second. And we're going to work through this. And I hear that a lot. You know, people want to be, and that's good. Those are great goals.
Yes.
And that's something that I definitely want to talk about on the show are the stages of recovery. The honeymoon phase, the pink cloud phase, then the wall.
Right.
When the brain starts recorrecting and we start going, man, this sobriety thing sucks. I don't want to do this, and work through that. So we can talk about that. Well, we got Rachel Stacy coming up, and I almost yelled, Rachel, you back there? So we're going to have Rachel Stacy come up. We're really looking forward to Healing Springs. I know we're talking about some exciting things. I'm gonna kind of throw a loop at you. Let me tell you what I would love to see us do some shows from Healing Springs Ranch, just in a private studio. Yeah. So when I come up there on Thursdays and I do M2 the Rock group, then I come in and we do a show with a staff member.
Yeah,
so
that'd be great.
That day Kelly's on, and then another day John's on, and then you're on, and we really have a curriculum. Let's talk about, what is addiction and then what is dual diagnosis, what is mental health, have you on, talk about vocational, and basically each department come on the show and do a class, on the show, on the Healing Springs.
That'd be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be cool to do stuff like that?
We can't even name all the staff. It takes every single person that we have there, and we have people who are so committed, and so we can't even say thanks enough to every single person.
Yeah, so that is
on the team.
So this is just the first of many shows, and we got some great ideas that we're working on. John Edmondson, we're working on behind the scenes and all that. So while we're doing this, so Rachel Stacy, I want to introduce Rachel Stacy. She's going to come sit in my chair. And she's going to sing to y'all.
She's going to serenade us.
She's going to sing to y'all.
Right.
And I'm going to back up out of the way. And Rachel, why don't you come in here? Why don't you share your story with the ladies, Godspeed, and how you wrote this and what it means to you and your experience at Healing Springs Ranch. And let me back up out of here.
Yay!
Hi. This is weird. Hi, Rachel, and Melissa. Wait. What do you want me to ask? What do you want me to tell?
Your experience at Healing Springs Ranch.
Okay, so my experience when I went I remember the first time I went, we went to listen to Elizabeth Smart. Mm-hmm. And we drove
The reunion,
in.
alumni reunion.
Yeah, and I walked in and I was like, I don't want to leave. And actually, we did get stuck. The fire trucks wouldn't let us leave because of it. I was like, I can stay.
Some fireworks.
But it was all I could think is what's really cool about hearing your story now is that it makes sense to me. Everything's there. You know what I mean? So everything. And like with us, I'll have 8 years of clean and sober, November 6, 2011.
Ooh.
And I've got 13 years of a codependency program, Al-Anon. Mm-hmm. So I started out in trying to change alcoholics and addicts, and then I was one. Surprise, surprise.
Well, you changed one.
And I did. I did change me.
Yeah.
I love you. That's why you're good. But it was so to get. I didn't get to go to what you did. I went through pain and misery, and if anyone even did offer me an opportunity, it was never brought up to me because I was such a faker. Like I pretended like I didn't have a disease, and I was really good. Even when I sobered up, people were like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, but I went through enough. I went through therapy and therapy and therapy and therapy. No one could figure out what was wrong with me except that I just had a terrible childhood, whatever that means, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. And so when I come on your thing, I was like, you do have a little moment of, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. You know what I mean? I was like, so I want to tell the people that are there, I'm like, man, to grasp onto this. They're giving you everything here. So when I got to sit in with your group the other day and tell my story, I get to share more in depth with groups like that.
Yep.
And versus the groups we go to 12-step programs, but it's not different. It's just more in depth there.
Yeah.
It really is. I should have been dead. I should not be sitting here today with my story, my complete story. So I really want to thank you guys for letting me hang out.
No, thank you for coming. You had a profound impact on our community. They were talking about it, yes, after you left. So never underestimate that, they talk about when you drop a pebble in the pond and the concentric circles, the outreach that you can have, the impact that you can have. It was profound. So I wanted to make sure we're grateful that you shared. You want to sing? Don't cry. You gotta sing.
I'm gonna joke. Well, real quick, I will tell you on the story side. I remember, sometimes I think my story is really vanilla, and like it's not gonna help anybody. And then, but I hit so many bottoms that I sit in there, and if I ask God, my higher power, into it, which I explained good orderly direction because I had no God. I was really angry at God for my disease and poor me, another drink. I was really angry at God. I was able to share with the people at your place that I didn't have a belief. I tried to be a Scientologist, a Buddhist, everything. And I'm not knocking those parts. If it works for people, it works for them. But good orderly direction, someone goes, why don't you quit trying to identify what that is and just go a good orderly direction, sober. Mm-hmm. And that's where my higher power began to form. And it's been a journey. So when I told my story, it's been such a journey now. I sat in there, I was like, man, I really, my story's not very vanilla. It's really real. Mm-hmm. It's dark. It was very dark, and it was very lonely. Yep. So, but now I'm with you guys, so that's pretty cool. So this song, let me tell you the story real quick. And it's crazy how I wrote this song, and it wasn't a song that I wrote for an album or anything like that. I wrote it. I had about almost a year's sobriety. I can't really remember how many months, whatever. It was just foggy. And I lived in a little house in Arlington. I moved here from California, and I lived in a house in Arlington. And I had a little studio in the back, and the blinds faced out back to these gorgeous trees and a big backyard. And I walked back there to work on some finger picking. And I didn't leave my house for 6 months except to go to do 2 concerts. That was it. I mean, people from the program would come and get me. People from the program would bring me food. I was so depressed. I went to therapy. I did all that. So I went to that stuff, but I just couldn't deal with society. And I've been praying to this God thing to keep me sober. And the best part of the story is I walked back into that back room I just described. And as I walked back there, I lifted the blinds and I went, oh, there's a tree there. Whoa, it's really pretty back here. And then I said, I'm going to cry. When I started writing the song, oh my God, I cry every time I tell the story. When I started writing the song as a songwriter, I always wrote about like, screw you, I'm going to kill you, you cheater. Those are my kind of songs. Right. or I'm tough, don't mess with me, or funny songs, or sad, or whatever. This was the first time these words came out, and I have the memo, because it was death or sobriety for me, and I have the voice memo on my phone where I just started finger picking, and these words started coming out, and I was like, where are these words coming from? And that tree in the backyard is exactly. The trees what showed me there's something bigger out there. I was like, it was beautiful, the fall. And then I started thinking of all the people that stood above me and helped me. And then you'll understand in the lyrics that all these, I'm a continuous flowing river of chaos. That's all I was. And I'm an isolator. So I didn't think I was hurting anybody. I was not nice. I was angry. I withdrew. I could fake it till I made it. I was successful in my head. And then, fast forward, all these mountains that were above me, people like you, God was skin, and then God was there the whole time. So, and then I was more comfortable in my disease and my darkness before I got sober, because that way I don't have to deal with relationships. And that way I'm not a burden on anybody. And I did not realize how much I'd hurt my family or anyone just by withdrawing. So this is where the song came from. Is that okay? Okay, great.
Beautiful.
So if I start crying, I'm sorry. But in the word, you'll understand the words, and this is the in depth of it. Here you go. All right. Hi, everybody. The river is flowing through the mountain. It's only looking for the calm. It stands protected from the rough. It has to end somewhere. Maybe I'm that river, and you're the mountain over me. The leaves are falling to the ground as the sun beats down on the tops. Seasons change, colors fade, but they'll be back for more. I'm seeing that change in me, and I'll be coming back, you'll see. Maybe that's God's intention for me to see how that river is flowing the way it should lead. Maybe that's God's intention for me to believe. Oh, God's speed slows me. God's speed. The ocean is wide across the blue. I'm always searching for something else. I swim too deep for me to breathe. I can't take much more of this. I'm fishing for the answers while I'm drowning in misery. Maybe that's God's intention for me to be how that ocean, it ain't there just for me. Maybe that's God's intention for me to believe. Oh, God's speed slows me, and God's speed. I am safe in the dark, it's where I'd rather stay. There's comfort in never finding my way. And there's a light up ahead, but it scares me. But something is calling me there. Maybe that's God's intention for me to see
all this darkness, it's killing me. Maybe that's God's intention for me to leave. Oh, Godspeed slows me. God, He knows me. Yes, I said God, He knows me. Godspeed slows me. Godspeed.
Thank you. Now you're going to make me cry. It's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
So good.
Playing that for us.
Wow.
At a private live concert.
How good was
Wow.
that? Look at y'all. Wow. Good stuff.
Girlfriend.
Rachel, Stacy. Okay, give me the guitar. Now it's my turn.
No.
Okay. No.
You will not be able to top that. I can guarantee you that.
That's the real deal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That is the real deal.
That is.
Rachel, Stacy, it's what a great example to find what your God. That's what happens in recovery is we find what our gifts are. And you teach that in your class.
Mm-hmm.
What are our gifts? And I've heard you say this, Melissa, in your groups. You say this, and I love it when you say this. We are smart people, okay? Recovery is not about getting good. We are not bad people. I'm not going to Healing Springs to get good.
Right.
I'm going to Healing Springs to get well. I'm going to Healing Springs to find out what my destiny is. What am I good at? Melissa and the staff and John and Rachel, they help me find what I'm good at so I can go pursue my destiny in life.
Your authentic self.
Yeah.
My
that
authentic
that you've
self.
Lost.
That's-
We just lose ourselves.
That's right. And obviously, that's a perfect example live on stage what Rachel's gift is. How good is that
Yes,
voice?
it was beautiful.
It's unbelievable, and it's amazing how somebody can use that talent to bring people to tears of happiness. And so, we've got so many great things to talk about. I mean, we've got so many great shows. We talk about, journaling, the power of journaling. What is long-term recovery? How do I how do I live life on life's terms after I leave Healing Springs Ranch? All these great shows and tools. What a great show we can have for the alumni to watch. And
great.
to see in. So, how'd that make you feel? That song? What'd you hear there?
I'm glad we didn't start with it because I would not have been able to.
That's
I can't
funny.
seem to get the tears to stop flowing. But yeah.
Well, what's happening? Tell us what's happening.
See, now you can make me talk about it, and I'm going to really start falling.
He's becoming the therapist.
Are we
He's got another job.
just the when you're singing your song, you can really feel with you. Your pain and your transformation, and then the end of it where you transcend it, and you're really able. I mean, you can feel that with you. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Rachel, how did it make you feel?
That was so special. First of all, I'm very grateful for both of you and both your gifts and you finding your gifts through your sobriety. For me, that song, I connect with that song. And the reason I do is because you find beauty in the ugly moments.
Yeah.
And we can choose to be a victim of those moments, or we can allow it to empower us and go on and do something amazing and help other people. So for me, that song signifies and symbolizes transformation from a very broken place to something freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna start crying.
Well,
This is like group.
I tell
Let's
you
sit
what,
here in
y'all
group.
need to start a country band. We got the Judds right here. Look like the Judds here. Everybody's crying. This is
She's a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's it.
that's our personality
That
type.
is so good. So
That's why we go well together.
well, what a great show, and we appreciate. We got more to come, and listen, I always end the show this way. I got 3 words, I got 8 letters, I got 1 meaning, and I really mean this. I love you. And for everyone here at M2 The Rock and Healing Springs Ranch, Rachel, Stacy, we love you, and we wish you a very good evening. And we will be back the same time tomorrow night. Tomorrow, I will be at Healing Springs Ranch. Tomorrow's my day. It's Thursday. It's No Tripping Thursday with them to the Rock, and we're heading north, 1 hour north to Healing Springs